Inside of a bookcase, like the one on your wall, there happened a story. 'Twas a load of old balls.
No, no, not rhyming. We're not doing that.
Okay. In the wizard city of extremely New York, there dwelt a poor bibliomancer and his wife, who could not write a short story to save his life.
Watch it.
That one was an accident. Right, anyway, this bibliomancer, called Ysteris, had an endless supply of prompts, but in spite of his magic, couldn't conjure tales for his customers. On the first night of Yule, as foreclosure loomed, we find Ysteris and his wife attempting to hit the dreaded word count.
You see, the problem with your feedback is that it all feels incredibly personal. Oh, Clarence, you're going to have to finish these stories or we'll never afford our Christmas goose. Dearest, use my wizard name when we're in the scriptorium. Honestly, one typo in your script, you end up married to Jimmy rather than Martha. This is going to take a miracle. Well, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. And every time you open your trap, my piles ache. Well, maybe things would have been better if I'd never been born. Yeah, you're right. I'll do this one solo. Do you know, he was all in black and white. Brilliant visual gag. Terrible for this format. Ugh. This is hopeless. Even if I only need half a goose now, I'll never make it. Not without stories.
Lonely, unattractive, penniless, Ysteris went straight to bed for a miserable tug. On his writing desk, the prompt remained unfinished because he was so pathetic and useless and ugly, but not physically, we know that already. No, he was also a horrible person as well, and he...
All right. Watch it, narrator, or you'll go the same way as wife Jimmy. Next scene, please.
So distracted was he by his Dan Brown audiobook that the wizard did not hear the sound of scribbling coming from his scriptorium. In the morning, when the wizard came down yawning, he found not one but two freshly completed stories on his desk, and, even more confusingly, a customer. "Is this for sale?"
Oh, fuck! Oh, how did a necromancer get in here? You scared the life out of me.
The door was open.
Oh, right. Wife Jimmy used to lock that. What was the question?
"Are these for sale? They're very good, and written to the same shared prompt as well. They'll do nicely while my graveyard's being returfed." Ysteris, peering over the customer's skull-clad shoulder, saw that the words were not his own. To profit from them would be immoral and...
30 quid for the pair.
"The compact is sealed. I've time to kill while the maggots do their work." Once the shop was empty again, Ysteris made sure to lock the door and gleefully counted his ill-gotten gains.
That's 17% of a goose.
Wait, what? How expensive are these geese? Anyway, filled with the potential for profit, Ysteris had another idea.
But what if I were to leave out a whole desk full of prompts? I'll be swimming in geese.
After spending the day manufacturing 100 one-word prompts, Ysteris began to recreate the previous evening with alarming exactitude. It must be noted that his miserable tug was replaced by a cheerful visit to Mrs. Palm and her 5 daughters.
I've come now, and I'm going to sleep.
The third day of Yule dawned brightly over extremely New York, and Ysteris leapt from his bed, still clad in his jammies, to rush down the stairs. His writing desk, the counter, even the sink were filled with tall piles of short stories. With manic enthusiasm, Ysteris unlocked the door and stepped out into the street, hawking excitedly.
Stories! Stories! Get your stories! 2 for 30... Oh, scratch that. 2 for 50 wizard quid. Homemade, organic, free-range stories. Get them while the ink's still wet.
Then something astonishing happened. Wizards of every creed and every crook of hat pushed through the heavy snow to descend on his little scriptorium. Within moments, the first of the customers was through the door. Wow! All these stories in such a small scriptorium. It's like some sort of tiny bookcase.
Oh, belaboured.
Despite his complete lack of personal hygiene and abhorrent personality, Eustace sold story after story, more than he'd ever sold in his life. But eventually, his shop was empty again.
Fuck, geese. I'm having Phoenix for Yule this year. But what's next? If I want to keep rolling in wizard dosh, I'll need to find out who is writing these stories. Tonight, I'll write more prompts, pull myself off down here, and wait to discover the identity of my little helpers.
Eustace, post-gasm, twiddled his thumbs and stared out from his hiding place behind the counter. Just as he was losing the battle with the sleep fairy, 2 small, naked elves wriggled out from the gaps in the floorboards. The bibliomancer's eyes were wide as he watched those little dudes climb up onto the desk and start reading his prompts.
Metabolism? What the fuck are we supposed to write for that? Something grim about slowing down with age, maybe? It's always so severe with you, isn't it? Well, looks like you sold everything we wrote last night. Do you know if we get royalties on these? Not a clue. But I've got this cousin in Germany who did a similar job for a shoemaker once. He got given clothes and shoes and everything. They even set him free. Man, that sounds great. I hate having my dick out all the time. Yeah, I hate you having your dick out all the time too.
So, got you, and so on and so forth. What are 2 little elves doing in my scriptorium?
Are we elves in this one? We're normally goblins.
Yeah, it was Christmas, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Eustace, bibliomancer, sir. We love telling stories and thought you needed our help.
I am a bibliomancer. I'm perfectly capable of summoning words and structures and plots and the
Endings?
that's the bugger, thank you, endings.
This could do with one now, actually. Yeah. Are you gonna, give us pants and set us free, like that shoegazer did?
And then Eustace looked down upon the elves. They had brought prosperity back to his scriptorium, and he knew in his heart of hearts that the right thing to do would be to feed them, clothe them, pay them, and release them to their bright futures as writers
No,
of...
I'm afraid not. I was thinking indentured servitude and no pants for anyone. I'm going to use you two to build the biggest tiny bookcase the world has ever seen.
Oh no! For fuck's sake.
Well, story seekers, we hope you enjoyed this festive episode.
which was not even slightly borrowed from a 19th century storytelling duo.
Not a bit. Happy holidays to you all.
And we'll see you in the new year.
Bye now.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Tiny Bookcase.
Remember to subscribe, otherwise you're going to miss out on the future fun.
Also, tell a friend. If you like this episode, link them to it.
We'd be tremendously grateful. You can follow us on Twitter at BookcaseTiny, Facebook at The Tiny Bookcase, and Instagram at BookcaseTiny for updates.
Speaking of supporting the podcast, well, magic can only take one so far. The Tiny Bookcase is supported by the generosity of its patrons. Those kind souls have really kept my belly full the last year. Let's cast a spell for them, shall we? For rich ginger tones on their scalp, let us cast the Orangi Hedondo spell for Scott Byrne. And for general fabulousness, why not the Ooh La La, How's Your Mother spell on Matthew McLaren?
How do you come up with that shit, man?